So you've been through the Knights of expansion so many times you can't bear the thought of seeing another Sky Trooper, and you think the traitor arc is stupid, and all you want to do is skip up to the current content. But what's going to happen to your prospects for romance if you do? Hopefully this video will help you sort that out, to know which content you can safely skip and which content you might have to go through again. Before we get started though, here are a few things to bear in mind. First off, skipping to certain points in the story will cause the game to autocomplete some but not all unfinished content. And it will use a set of default choices to do so. This means that, in general, Imperial characters will have dark side choices and Republic characters will have light side choices. This only applies to content you haven't played through. Any choices that you have made will not be overwritten. For example, if you played through Chapter 2 of, say, the Sith Warrior story and you have light side Jaisa, and then you decide to skip to Ossus, you will get light side Jaisa back, because that's the Jaisa you chose during your class story. So with all that said, let's get started, and of course, there will be spoilers. Let's begin with the characters who can be romanced during the origin stories. For most of these characters, this will be your one and only shot to begin a romance with them. If you don't do it during the origin story, you will not be able to do it at all. There are a very few exceptions to this. They are Kira and Scourge for Jedi Knights, Kim Val, for some reason, for Sith Inquisitors, Nadia for Jedi Consulars, and either Light or Dark Jaisa, depending on which one you had during your origin story, for Sith Warriors. You can get a second crack at these characters because they return during or after Ossus. And for this reason, they are the only origin story romances available to boosted characters or for those characters who have skipped their origin story. And just a note, if you happen to be playing a Sith Warrior who falls into one of those two categories, you will get Dark Jaisa. This is because, as I mentioned earlier, any auto-completed content will use default choices, which means your Sith Warrior as an Imperial character will get the dark side choices. But what happens if you didn't skip your origin story? You played through it all with the romance of your choice, and you don't want to lose it. But you also don't want to play through all those expansions. Well, then I've got good news, because for the most part, you won't have to. In short, if your chosen romance returns during the main story, and not just through a simple alliance alert, you'll have to play through the content in which that character returns. If you skip it, you'll lose the opportunity to resume your romance with them forever, at least as it stands now. This means you'll have to play through Fallen Empire Chapter 10 for Kaleo, Chapter 11 for Jorgen, Chapter 13 for Vet, and Chapter 14 for Torian. Quinn and Alara return on Iakath, so you'll need to play through that storyline to resume your romance with them. Likewise, you'll need to play through the story version of Traitor Among the Chiss in order to resume your romance with Reyna Temple. You can skip straight to Iakath for this. You don't have to play through either the Knights of the Fallen Empire or Knights of the Eternal Throne chapters to resume your romance. Once you've successfully resumed your romance, you can safely skip to Ossus and your romance will remain intact. If, however, your romance companion returns during an alliance alert, well then you're in luck, because you can safely skip to Ossus without missing out on the chance to resume your romance. This is because, with one exception, alliance alerts are not auto-completed, so you can go back at any time and do them. There are quite a few of those, so I will put them up on the screen and you can pause the video and take a look if you need to. And of course, you'll be able to resume any romances you had with companions who returned during or after Ossus. So that's all well and good if you want to romance one of the origin story companions, but what if you want to begin a romance with one of the characters introduced in the Knights of the Fallen Empire? Meaning Lana, Theron, Koth, and Arkin. Well, like with the origin story companions, you must play through the content in which you lock in the romance. Which means for Theron, Lana, and Koth, you must play up through Chapter 9 of Knights of the Fallen Empire. While you can flirt with Lana and Theron during the Shadow of Revan expansions, you can freely skip it, as it has no bearing on whether or not you can get their romance. In Fallen Empire Chapter 9, you'll be prompted to visit the Cantina. During this scene, you must pick the flirt that says you want to talk to someone. If you miss the flirt option in the Cantina or you skip Chapter 9 of Knights of the Fallen Empire, you will miss out on the opportunity to romance any of these characters. So far, there has not been another chance to do so, so this is your one and only shot. This is also a good place to note that if you've romanced Theron, you must play through the entire traitor arc in order to be able to resume your romance with him. If you skip it, you'll get him back, but you won't have the romance. As for Arkin, he's going to require you to play through all the Knights of the Eternal Throne chapters. because this is the only way to get his alliance alert, which in turn is the only way to begin a romance with him. Interestingly, you do not have to play through the Knights of the Fallen Empire chapters. And remember when I said there was one exception to alliance alerts not auto-completing? Well, it's his. You'll have to do his alliance alert before you start the Osis storyline, or it will autocomplete and you'll be locked out of his romance. And I guess it probably goes without saying, but just for clarity, I will add that if a character is available to begin a new romance with during or after Osis, of course your character can start this new romance, and it doesn't matter what content you may or may not have skipped, or in fact what romances you may or may not have done. So I think that about covers it. It's kind of a lot of information, but hopefully it will help you get and keep the romances that you want, while still being able to skip the content that you don't want to have to do again. If I've missed something or confused you terribly, please let us know in the comments. If you did find this helpful, why not leave us a like and subscribe for more content like this. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.